All right, we should be live right about now. Come on in from Twitter, from Twitch, from YouTube. Welcome all aboard. It's Eli Sussman, Ethan Badowski, Alex Carver. We planned on doing this stream, win, lose, or draw. And I mean, there were a lot. You could almost look at this game as a draw and how close it was. All these potential swing points where Marlins could have flipped around and pulled this one out. Final score 4-2. They were leading, of course, 2-0 for the majority of the game. And I mean, there's so many places we could go, but we should probably just start where you guys wanted to start right before we went on air about how that top of the sixth inning and Jorge Alfaro's role in that inning kind of flipped things around. So whatever you want to start with about that and how little plays like that can totally flip everything upside down, even though they don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I'll take this one to start because it just felt so frustrating to me to see Sandy pitch so well. He was so dominant through 5. He tied a career high in strikeouts with 10. He was absolutely fantastic. And the Marlins kind of missed some opportunities to help him out along the way to really solidify this game. 2 bases loaded situations, and they only get 1 run out of it. But I mean, I don't know when the pain goes away right now. I think the Marlins will get back on track. They're obviously having a rough time out of the gate, but I mean, the pain tonight was really when, a ball goes off of Sandy's leg, or you have that base hit where Jazz makes a great play going to his left and just kind of can't make the throw on point, kind of mistimed it with Sandy. And then a second ball goes off of Sandy's leg. I mean, at that point in the game, the Cardinals had 4 hits, and 3 of them were infield hits. So just kind of a lot of bad luck for the Marlins tonight on that side of the ball. And then also, Dickerson at the end of the game drives a ball into the gap that looks bound for the wall. Probably would have scored at least 1 and tied the game. Might have even given the Marlins the lead, and Anthony Bass was getting ready. And so just some bad luck here and there. And it was a tough night for the Marlins. That 6th inning is when it really all happened, though. You get those 2 hits, and they're kind of some cheapies. And then, there's a walk, and then Alfaro drops the changeup, and that was just brutal. I mean, that just can't happen. It was a really he just missed it. There's nothing else to it. It's not like it was in the dirt and he couldn't get in front of it. The ball just missed his glove, and he's got to catch it. And the ball squirted away, and Goldschmidt scored from first. And then it looked like BA might have had a play at the plate, but he goes to first because the guy was kind of hung up. And then Cooper double clutches. Alfaro can't get the tag down. It was just a big sloppy mess for the Marlins, and it all kind of piled on top of Sandy. I felt bad for him because he started overthrowing a little bit, trying to get out of the inning. You saw him get a little wild, whereas he hadn't been wild all game, really. His command had been really, really sharp all game. And then in the 6th inning, 93 gets away from him on the changeup. The fastball started getting away from him a little bit. And I was bragging tonight about how good his fastball command has been the last couple of years. So just a frustrating night for the Marlins. I think that's the word of the day right here, is frustrating, because they have their chances. Jazz ropes a ball that would have scored at least 2 and probably put the game away, right? That's a 3-0, 4-0 ball game if that ball gets down. But O'Neill makes a great play to prevent runs from scoring. Jazz gets a double, and then they don't do anything with it. Jazz strikes out on 91 down the middle with the bases loaded. The first time he was up with the bases loaded. So all around, just the Marlins just didn't give Sandy enough help, and it felt like one of those DeGrom games that we've seen from him recently, where he's so good. Sandy was so good tonight. He had 10 Ks, and his stat line ended up looking kind of a little uglier than it should, because he's got 4 hits and 3 runs and a couple walks on the ledger, because the Marlins just couldn't get him the help that he needed.
Well, you mentioned DeGrom. DeGrom threw a vintage DeGrom game yesterday, I think. And they ended up blowing that. The Mets did. Yeah. So that's very fitting. But we should talk more about Sandy, because honestly, the comparisons aren't all that outlandish with the quality of the stuff he had tonight. Was right up there with the best stuff we've ever seen from him. he was
I would say so.
not
It
just
feels like he gets better every night.
yeah, I mean, not just hitting 99, but sitting at 98, 99 with
Yeah.
both of his fastballs, his four-seamer and his sinker, and his changeup was like as good as we've seen as well.
Electric. That pitch is disgusting. And everything was the changeup and then the fastball upstairs. So it was changeup away to lefties or into righties, and then that fastball upstairs it got Arenado, it got Goldschmidt. It always bring Felice home there. You have to put that one up there. Shout out my boy Alex. But the Marlins, look, can Alfaro get on track at the plate? Yes. His defensive struggles are the bigger concern for me. But I said all along that I think the Marlins were going to regret not going out and getting a premier catcher in the offseason. And so far it's kind of biting them in the butt because it's hard to say. I don't want to harp on one guy. I don't want to jump on a guy's case and say this is the reason they lost the game, because that's not Jorge Alfaro is not the only reason the Marlins lost the game. The Marlins didn't take enough advantage of their opportunities. But that sixth inning was pretty rough, man. And it's not like he really helped his case at the plate either tonight.
Yeah. I mean, but you mentioned some of the other bright spots also with Jazz. I mean, he did have that rough strikeout with the bases loaded, but also, when all hope seemed lost his last time up, not lining a double, but just like
bouncing it off the plate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like he's done something every single game to feel really encouraged about. And so, I mean, I've been the one that we did our stream yesterday, and I'm someone that's trying to like temper the expectations a little bit with Jazz, because I think people are getting carried away.
It's hard not to, because the Marlins fans haven't really had anything to get excited about with these young prospects. And here's a guy that's coming up and being electric early on. So, but yes, we do. He's going to have growing pains. You saw some growing pains tonight. He struck out on 91. He missed 91 down the middle. He took 91 down the middle. So yeah, there are going to be growing pains for sure.
Yeah. And not really his fault. Even he was in the middle of a couple plays in that sixth inning, but not much he could really do. I mean, one where he was close to making that crazy play in deep and like shallow right field. Then the other one, the ground ball that was heading directly in his way, but unfortunately Sandy like couldn't avoid it, and they got that unlucky deflection that ended up in a hit.
Everybody say hi to my roommate Tyler, by the way. Everybody say hi to my roommates back here.
Yeah, we can see him just a little bit.
Making some dinner in the stream.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it's a frustrating night. There's really nothing else to it. It's like just a story of missed opportunities, right? Sandy, I think he had his chances to get out of the sixth inning. It looked like yes, the run scored with no outs, but if he just gets that one out and then he gets a ground ball, gets some confidence back into him, but the ball squirts away and all of a sudden a run scores. The game was tied before I could even blink. I tweeted out that I was in that I'm in shock when the game was tied or when the Cardinals took the lead, and somebody said to me, you've watched this team forever, and I have, and how can you be shocked? And it's like, it happened so fast. I've seen this a million times with the Marlins. Don't get me wrong. I've seen this a million times. This has been my lifetime with them, but it just happened so fast tonight. And Sandy was so good that it just really made me feel for him. I mean, I would love to hear him after the game, but look, credit to the Cardinals. I mean, Carlson with the big home run. That kid is fantastic. The bullpen was good. So.
It's got to go back, honestly, for me, guys. It has to go back to I mean, as much as you can blame that sixth inning, right? Which I'm sure we'll talk about, and you've already talked about. But that third inning where they have the bases loaded with no outs and they get no runs, and every out that they made was an unproductive out. That's a terrible inning for the Marlins. Like you're this small ball club. You've got to play. You have to play that small ball. You only have a couple guys in this lineup that are capable of power. And you just waste outs like Brian Anderson with a bat at bat. It's just not what this team needs to do. It's a wasted opportunity. And Mattingly just said it. No matter how early it is in the game, you have to make the most of that opportunity. And they didn't do it. So that's where it started to go bad for the Marlins, and it only got worse.
Well, think about it. If you're a pitcher, right, and the bases are loaded, the two outs that you're seeking are a strikeout and a pop out, right? Because you keep the ball in the infield or you don't get the ball in play at all. And the Marlins went strikeout, pop out, strikeout. That's as bad as it can get right there. So yeah, it was brutal. I mean, that was really the game for me. Those 2 innings where you have the bases loaded, Sandy's dealing, he's got 10 Ks through 5, and you're only able to drag 1 run across. And at least we got 1 run, but I mean, O'Neill made a great play. If that ball lands, Jazz comes through. Yeah. So this kid, it's important to talk about Jazz and kind of not let his night go. I thought he had a good night, but you saw some growing pains that he's going to have to go through. But, I mean, if that ball lands, we're looking at this night like he's the savior, he's the hero. We're talking about, how electric this kid is. And he had the double that kind of tried to spark the offense, but the Marlins just couldn't come through. It was a tale of missed opportunities tonight, certainly, for the Marlins.
A good opportunity to talk about Dickerson as well, because when the lineup came out, and this was very unusual, the lineup was very late today. So people didn't actually know what was going on. They waited until less than an hour and a half before first pitch to put the lineup out. And then after that anticipation, they see Dickerson at the top. And I think the largest comments that I saw from people when the lineup came out was booing the decision to have Dickerson on the top of the lineup.
He goes against his own sister. Like, how could he do this? Like, come on. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, after sitting a couple of the previous days and all the enthusiasm for Jazz and the comment from Mattingly pregame about
that was hilarious.
Yeah,
that made me crack up in the stream. Yeah,
about his sister recommending that Miggy bat lead off only to bury him at the bottom. And then Dickerson, I mean, it's really a great night for him overall. I mean, he reached base each of the first 2 times up, and that ball that he hit in the 8th inning is one that more often than not finds the grass for an extra base hit. And more often than not, he's the hero in this situation.
Yeah. It was brutal.
Yeah, that at bat.
Go ahead, Alex.
Sorry, that at bat, again, as Eli said, was good, but what sticks out to me about Dickerson tonight, I mean, he took a pitch literally down the pipe from Genesis Cabrera that he should have smashed. This ball was literally, I think, 92 or 93, right down the middle of the plate, and he fouls it off Oppo. It's like, you wish he could have caught up to that pitch and made something of it, because that would have been a big spot. But not a bad night for Dickerson. I mean, I think he was decent in the leadoff spot, but that at bat stood out to me, man.
Yeah, no, I actually thought Dickerson had one of his best nights in the lineup tonight. I thought the quality of his ABs were really good. He put some good swings on balls. He hit the ball hard. Let me find these. I mean, the last one is just brutal, but 102.6, 100.3, 94.5 miles per hour exit velocities, and then you have the pop up, which wasn't anything. But I thought his quality of AB, and that's what Donnie's looking for, right? For him to see a lot of pitches, put the bat on the ball, hit the ball hard. He did it tonight. And the one that really kills you is the one that, 580 expected batting average on that ball. So that ball, if it's not Carlson out there, if it's somebody slower, or if the ball, flies, if it's the juice balls last year, it might leave. I'm really starting to, and somebody asked Donnie about this, but I think we're starting to see a difference in the baseballs. Matt Carpenter had one that probably would have left last year. That's a discussion for another time, but you can kind of see that MLB really kind of nerfed him. But anyway, it's just bad luck all over the place for the Marlins, right? The hit off Sandy in the 6th inning. The ball getting away from Alfaro, the ball that doesn't land for Dickerson, the ball that doesn't land for Jazz, everything that we keep talking about is some bad luck. And it's, at the end of the day, yes, the Marlins had their opportunities, so it's frustrating. And they had to take advantage of them. But yeah, there's some bad luck into it. I thought the Marlins actually played pretty well tonight. The quality of ABs, especially early, they were getting to Gant. They were hitting the ball hard off of him. They were seeing pitches off of him. Thought a lot of guys had good ABs early, but they just didn't have them at the right time. And I've been seeing this. I've been alive 22 years. I probably remember Marlins games for 18 of them. And they've never been able to hit with runners in scoring position. It feels like every year we see the same trend where the Marlins are going 0 for this, 0 for that with runners in scoring position. And it happened again tonight. I think they were something like 0 for 9 or 0 for 10 at the end of it. So at the end of the day, 1 for 13 with runners.
There was the one hit. Do you know who got the one hit? You might not remember. It was Brian Anderson. but it didn't score a run because Cooper was
Coop
on
was
second.
on second base.
And Coop is not very fleet of foot. So
Yeah, to say the least.
yeah.
Yeah, I
no.
mean, just because you guys mentioned Garrett Cooper, I mean, great night for him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really argue. I mean, the guy continues to have great at bats. I mean, it's a guy that is coming off of not feeling very well yesterday, I guess, right? I mean, he had a second COVID shot. They said he wasn't really feeling great. That's why you had Jordan Holloway come up, and get that extra spot. Great night for him, by the way, yesterday. I want to mention that. Not the guy that I have seen personally in Jordan Holloway coming up through the minors. That was a completely different
that was
gentleman.
very impressive.
So I just want to mention that. So yeah, different guy for sure. I mean, I wrote about it on my site about how he can kind of put away the velo and go to a secondary pitch. Very encouraging for him. But yeah, I'm back on Cooper. To come off of what he went through, not feeling great yesterday, and comes in and draws, I think, 3 walks, and even was starting to have a great at bat there late in the game. That's a great night for him. The guy just continues to put it together. I really like Garrett Cooper. I hope he sticks around the Marlins. So yeah, Cooper, awesome.
Yeah, I tweeted out during the game that Cooper has kind of entered as one of the guys that I think you have to have in the lineup every day, unless Duvall really starts taking off. Where he's a guy that you want to see in the lineup every day. With the other guys, for me, would be Aguilar. It would be Marte, Miro, obviously. Jazz, and I can't remember if there was one more, but he's a guy that you gotta. The Marlins have done it so far, right? I think he only hasn't played in, besides yesterday, obviously. I think the only game he didn't start was opening day. So the Marlins have found plenty of ABs for him. They found plenty of ABs for Aguilar. They found plenty of ABs for Dickerson, and they found plenty of ABs for Duvall. So they're making it work right now. And I think they'll, Mattingly, I think it was today, he talked about how eventually they're going to kind of find not a set 8, but you're going to have a core of the lineup. And that's starting to take fruition, and it'll come to more fruition eventually as they figure out the matchups, who they like against righties, who they like against lefties, that kind of stuff. But yeah, Cooper to me looks like one of those guys. And I mean, look at Sandy, man. He did the stuff is dominant. His presence on the mound looks like an ace. Cool, calm, and collected. I mean, that was filthy. That 2-seamer running away from Justin Williams was just nasty. The changeups that he's throwing, the one that ran in on the hands, I can't remember which hitter it was to. Alex, you tweeted the GIF.
The one to I think it was Goldschmidt. That thing was disgusting.
Yeah, the one that ran in on his hands. It made pitching ninja. He's becoming a staple on pitching ninja. He makes it at least 2 or 3 times every time he's out there, which is a good sign of a guy that has some nasty stuff, because they only tweet the guys with the nastiest stuff in the league. So yeah, really, really good stuff from Sandy. It's a shame that the Marlins couldn't help him out more tonight, but the Mets lead the league in wasting quality starts, and it's all from one guy specifically. He won a Cy Young despite having basically his entire season wasted by quality starts. So that's all you have to say about DeGrom, really.
Oh, I can't hear him. I don't know if you can hear him.
Are you muted, Eli?
I'm alive again.
There you are.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
Playing around with the video clip. Remember last time I played a video clip yesterday, it kind of crashed the whole application for me. But it seems that it worked. I think it worked this time. It just muted me when I was playing that video.
We saw it. Yeah, I saw it. I was watching that pitch again.
Yeah. Well, we survived.
I got all of the fish picks right today, except I picked the Marlins to win.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are in that same boat, but that's why I keep it on the stream. I'll be grading those very shortly just to see if anybody got those perfect.
Just a little update.
I didn't, for sure.
Yeah, the one point we wanted to touch on before getting out of here for sure is the bullpen, where they didn't cost them the game in this situation, but we're almost 5 games into the season, and at least to me, the only guy that I really feel great about, kind of excluding Holloway, because for the
Carver,
moment,
you ready for this
Holloway
one?
is kind of floating around among the core relievers on this team. The only guy you really feel great about at this moment is Dylan Floro. He was someone I mentioned yesterday on the stream because I was just watching his relief appearances last week. I liked what I saw in a very small sample. And again, in this appearance, he issues a walk, but outside of that, he showed more of the same things, just great fastball commands and getting nasty movement on his changeup. And so 3 appearances, he's been pretty good. And just about everybody else, you just it's hit or miss. Where Yimi got himself into a little bit of trouble in this game, and we saw Blyer, of course, just leave this 85-mile-an-hour cutter right down the middle to Carlson that he hit out, and that's already the second home run that Blyer has allowed this year for a guy that is supposed to be an extreme ground ball pitcher. You know, the one thing that you're supposed to trust about someone like him is keeping the ball in the park. But I mean, you could go down the list with John Curtis and with Anthony Bass. Little red flags with just about everybody already for a bullpen that was revamped for this season. And I think most of us would be in general approval of the changes they made. But at this very moment, you know, you're still feeling a little uneasy as to whether it's actually improved over what they had in 2020.
Yeah, I'll take this here because I think that the Marlins bullpen, we have to remember that we're still in the 5th game of the season. Like, eventually we're going to stop saying that we're only at X number of game of the season, probably around somewhere between the 20th and the 30th game of the season, I would say. But it's going to eventually it's going to kind of even out, right? And we're going to be over 162 games. It always kind of evens out, right? The start, you know, guys for the first month or so of the season, somebody's going to be hitting 400, and then eventually it's going to all even out. And it's going to be the same thing with the Marlins bullpen. Right now, they've had some rough goes at it, and you know the ERA is going to look through the roof, but eventually it's going to even out because a couple guys are going to get hot. They're going to start being better. They're going to have good stretches. They're going to have bad stretches. That's baseball. That's how it is over 162 games. You know, I told somebody that was freaking out a little bit about Jazz today when he missed 91 down the pipe. It's baseball. Good hitters miss 91 down the pipe. It's baseball. Good relievers are going to have bad appearances. They're going to make bad pitches and let up a home run to good hitters. Blyer let up a home run to a really good hitter in Dylan Carlson today. This kid's a stud. You know, he burned the Marlins in spring training, and he has all the makings of just one of those great Cardinals that they just pump out over and over and over again. And the Marlins have had a couple of their big guys make one bad pitch and outing early. And because it's early and because everybody's watching all the games and paying such close attention to them, it gets blown up into the Marlins bullpen is terrible. And of course, the fact that they promised this revamped bullpen and the bullpen was the big focus this offseason, it doesn't look any better. But over 162 games, it's going to kind of even itself out, and I think it'll be fine. Look, I don't think the Marlins are going to have a Brewers type bullpen, a 2015 Royals type bullpen. They're not going to have all these weapons, these guys that are pumping 98 with good movement. They have a lot of guys that have couple different looks. They have some guys that have really good stuff. Anthony Bender is one of them who I think we'll see here eventually. Jordan Holloway looked like one of those guys with high 90s stuff and good wipeout breaking stuff that could make an impact that's why I said he looks like a high leverage guy to me last night based on his stuff. So, you're going to have guys with different looks. They don't have any 5 or 6 overpowering arms, but they're going to have guys that are going to be successful. And Floro, to me, Eli, looks like a guy that, he's going to have rough up and downs because his stuff isn't dominant. And one night he's going to get hit around because he's not locating it very well. But when he's locating and he's on, I think he's very successful. He just gets outs. His stuff, Alex and I were talking about this during the game. His stuff does look a little hittable. It's 93. It doesn't have a lot of movement to it, but he can locate it well. And he doesn't really he doesn't let up a ton of hard contact. So if he's not letting up a ton of hard contact and he's getting outs and he's being effective, then I think he's going to be a big part of this pen. I wouldn't say that he's going to be the 8th or 9th inning guy. I think the 7th inning is a very good role for him, especially if it's a 1-run game, if it's if the Marlins have a 2-run lead or something like that, if it's a tie game, he's never really going to blow up on you to the point where he's going to cost you a game necessarily. So I think he's a good guy to have in that 7th inning role before you hand it over to a Yimi or a Bass at the back end. But yeah, I think the Marlins pen is going to be fine right now. there's overreactions. I see all the overreactions in the chat. This organization is not like Loria. Kim Eng, I think, has been fantastic. Talk to Kim Eng for 5 minutes and you'll see she's incredible. This seems fine. Like, they're not going to be a World Series champion this year. Nobody expected them to be a World Series champion this year. And eventually, over 162 games, everything's going to kind of balance out. The offense will get hot. The bullpen will get hot. Everything is going to kind of balance out. Right now, it looks really bad because it's been 5 really frustrating games, but it'll balance out.
It could be worse. You could be the Atlanta Braves, who are
yes,
4-4 right now.
You could.
Just want to point out on the pen, since you guys are mentioning it, obviously that's one of the hot topics. Personally, I want to see more of Zach Pop. I want to see more of that guy, man. Like, I wanted to see more of Jordan Holloway after how he did last night. And I just want to drive this home again. I said it before, but coming up, that was the guy. And I saw him pitch for the Hammerheads. I watched him pitch for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Eli, I know you did as well in Double-A. This guy was the guy that was out there, and he was pumping in every single pitch, next to every single pitch, 95, 96, 97, up to 98. He had that 12-6 curveball that was down to 73, and he was great. And he didn't really have much of a changeup. I saw that he was throwing a changeup yesterday. I was sitting in the booth. I'm like, oh, my God, he's throwing a changeup. Obviously, I'm not up close. I don't see the movement that you guys were seeing on TV. They have the game on in the box, but I just look at StatCast and I trust StatCast. Okay, this guy's throwing a changeup. Turns out he's throwing a slider. Still really good, because that slider is a pitch that he's been developing, and he's been developing that pitch probably since last year is when he started developing that pitch. So to see him make the leaps and bounds with that slider that he's made, and to see it wiping out like it did, as Ethan just mentioned, that's massive for Jordan Holloway. Whether he sticks as a starter, I don't think he will. I think he's more that 7, 8, 9 guy. But I just wanted to mention him. I know that's not on this game, but it's on this series. So I did want to mention him. Very encouraging to see him throw that pitch and that third pitch for him, because he has a very good curveball and a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. So if he could put all that together, man, he's dominant as that late inning reliever. So I just wanted to point him out.
I think he has high leverage stuff. That I think the most impressive pitch for me was the one that he got his last out of the appearance on, which was like 98 at the knees.
Yeah.
It was down the middle at the knees, but the guy just froze. The batter just froze because it had a little life to it. So he's got that. Everybody talks about now how every guy coming out of the bullpen for the best teams in the league is throwing 98 with movement, and Holloway throws 98 with movement. Pop throws 98 with movement, and Curtis throws 96 with movement. So the Marlins need these guys that are throwing 98 with movement, and that's why I think Holloway plays really well out of the pen, and that's where I think his future is. The minor league season starts on May 4th. That's when the minor league season starts.
Exactly. So just to cap it on Jordan, I know that's yesterday, but just to cap it, I mean, I know he got sent to Double-A rather than Triple-A, where he would not have been a starter in Triple-A, but I don't think that the Marlins can look at, and I know it's one outing as well, but I don't think the Marlins can look at what he did yesterday and say, okay, we're going to keep this guy a starter. I think he's definitely a bullpen piece. I've been on him as a bullpen piece for a while, so I think he's a future pen piece. I think he's really going to carve out a role as a late inning reliever, and he's got great high leverage stuff.
I would like to see more Zach Pop, by the way. Yeah, I would definitely like to see more Zach Pop. That's a guy that really impressed me this spring. His stuff, again, is that 98 with movement that we talk about with high leverage bullpen guys. So to me, it screams kind of high leverage stuff as well. So
yeah, and just one more comment about Jordan, because these are my guys, right? Just one more comment.
Yeah, these are your guys, man. Go ahead.
Like what a ride. Like, okay, he gets that call. I know we heard him on the media call, Ethan. He gets that call at 10:45 yesterday morning, comes up, puts in that appearance, and now he's back up to Jacksonville. Yeah. So you just got to think about the ride that this guy's having. He's going up and down the state like twice in like 3 days, 2 days actually. So, you got to kind of feel for a guy like that. I know that's the minor league grind. That's what these guys go through, but different circumstances. Great to see him be effective in his major league role that he had yesterday. So I think we're going to see him again shortly. Eli mentioned to me today about the ATS. I think he's a guy you're going to see come up. Other guys as well, but I think he's going to be one of those guys on call.
That's going to be the thing with the ATS, right? The fish tank, excuse me, is the same.
There you go. Sorry, Eli, I forgot your.
The thing with the fish tank is going to be that the guys are going to be up and down from it all. We saw it last year. Guys are going to be back and forth. So yeah, he's definitely a good guy to have on call, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about Pop. He seems like a guy that would be lined up to pitch tomorrow at some point. Just as things are going, it's a fun year
on a getaway day as well.
A little bit of a tangent, but I've seen it mentioned. Baseball America had a good breakdown of this about how honestly across the whole league, Rule 5 draft picks this year, it's looking like a great class. Earlier today, the Tigers had that guy, Akil Baddoo, who's who's been unstoppable so far, and a walk-off today. He's a Rule 5 guy. The fact that the Marlins weren't even picking at the top of the Rule 5 this year, and they were able to trade for Pop, who was the number 6 pick, and then, of course, get Campbell, who we think is going to be starting one of the games, right, later this week.
Yeah, so that's what Donnie made it sound like, is that he's going to get depending on this throwing schedule that him and Neidert are on, one of them is going to get Eliezer's start, and one of them is going to get the 5-spot start.
Yeah, I guess we'll just finish looking ahead to tomorrow, the final game of the series. Once again, Marlins in a position where they're just trying to salvage a game, avoid the sweep. Got a marquee pitching matchup with Jack Flaherty and Pablo Lopez. Almost every day that the Marlins have a starter, you really look forward to it. But yeah, that should be a fun one. They saw a lot of Flaherty in spring training, of course, from sharing the facilities. And he's someone that a couple of years ago was on top of the world, and last year took a little step back. So not entirely sure what to expect of him, but he's pretty high up there.
And I'll tell you what, is there a guy you want more on the mound? We talked about this, Eli. We did that little podcast, during spring. But with his demeanor, when you need a win to salvage a game from a series, I don't know if there's somebody I want more on the mound than Pablo Lopez, with the way that he just goes out there and just delivers and just keeps everything calm. And I'm excited to watch Pablo. I'm always excited to watch Pablo pitch.
And my guy John, he brings up a good point about Wallach. I mean, if you look at the career splits for Pablo, he is terrific when he's paired with Wallach. That wasn't the case with his first start. His first start this year, he actually was with Alfaro, and it went pretty well. He didn't have his very best stuff, but it went fine, 5 scoreless. You wonder if Wallach will be starting tomorrow, just because career working together. I think the ERA is in like 2.3, 2.2 when him and Wallach work together over the course of like a dozen starts. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see that.
Yeah, I would definitely, especially after tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Chad Wallach in the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because how much more offensive production are you really getting up from Alfaro right now? And Wallach did have some defensive problems in that game. He had that weird cross up and stuff, but it's like, are you really getting that much more offensive production to the point where you're not going to go with the guy who has been much better with Pablo? So I don't know. The Marlins have an interesting decision on their hand. Alfaro's got to get hot. He's got to get hot at the plate. He's got to start hitting the ball out of the ballpark because he's making it tough on himself right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to, I guess, close it out on tomorrow, Eli mentioned it. The Marlins saw a ton of Jack Flaherty in spring training. Obviously, it's spring training, and you don't want to put too much into that, but you saw a lot of what this guy has. You saw him pitching even late in spring training as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So you want to see him, you want to see the Marlins come out, and after seeing so much of him, you want to see them put together a nice offensive performance. And you got Pablo going, so I think not that it's a must win, obviously it's still very early in the season, but this is a game that you really want to see the Marlins do well and win this game, especially after how tonight went. You want to see the Marlins win this game. And I do agree with you, Ethan, that I don't think Jorge Alfaro is in the lineup tomorrow. I think it's going to be Chad Wallach. I mean, it's going to be obviously I think the rubber match, right? Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
It's not a rubber match. The Marlins are trying to salvage a game.
Well, true. We're trying to
salvage a game from the series. So
you said that as well. Yeah, I mean, you got to get one game, right? So
it's a tough start. The Marlins, they face 2 good teams out of the gate, and then they got to go play the Mets, which is tough because the Mets have a really good lineup. And I don't know who we have after that, but I know that like the first 4 series of the year or something were really tough on the Marlins. So
Why did I kind of somehow put the loss out of my mind yesterday and thought the Marlins won the game? Anyways, I don't know.
I'm going to get to one more point because my dog is woofing at something. The last point about tomorrow is that this Cardinals offense, they have some big names in it, but watching these games, they're not really an offense to be afraid of. If you see how these games have played out, I mean, so much of this has been the Marlins gifting them runs. Yeah. It was Trevor in that first inning of his first game, the nerves getting to him on those walks, and that kind of added up and let those guys get in. After that, he cruised. And then tonight, of course, Sandy was unstoppable most of the way through. And then in the 6th inning, we've already been through it. All the circumstances that allowed the Cardinals to take the lead. Not much that the Cardinals did themselves, just a lot of unforced mistakes and some bad luck. So that gives you some confidence heading into tomorrow.
And you know what, Eli? One more thing is the Marlins have been in every game. Their run differential, you had it across the screen, is -3 right now. They've been in every game that they've played so far. So this team, their pitching is going to keep them in every single game. Their starting pitching is going to keep them, is going to give them a chance to win. The offense is going to be the difference tonight. You know, we saw in their one win of the season against the Rays, where the offense came through, got them the win. Tonight, the offense didn't come through. They missed a lot of opportunities, and they ended up with a loss. So they're going to be in every game, and they've been in every game so far. Every game has been close. So
yeah,
right now, that's all you can ask for.
Just a last for me before you go, Eli. The offense is the frustration for me so far. It's not so much the pitching staff. Obviously, Sandy was great tonight. Trevor, he had the jitters last night, you know, obviously in the first inning, and then settled in and wound up going 4 pretty good innings. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more of him out of those last 3 innings. The offense couldn't come back for him last night, and the offense could not show up for Sandy tonight. So it's the offense that's the problem, not the pitching staff. So when does this offense, I mean, I know it's very early, yes. When does this offense wake up and say, hey, the season started and, you know, we got to get things going? Other than that one game, they haven't done it. So that's
so weird because, and it's so weird because they were good spring training, and, you know, you don't want to look too much into spring training results, but guys were hitting the ball hard. They were good ABs, and there have been good ABs and good swings and hitting the ball hard in the season so far, but just hasn't turned into runs, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, I won't be locked in tomorrow. PSG has a huge game tomorrow at the same time, so I'm going to be a little all over the place tomorrow. But I'm definitely they just got to salvage one. You know, they were able to salvage the last game of the Rays series, and now you go on the road, and you don't want to go on the road after getting swept. So,
I mean, I guess my thought behind us winning yesterday was that Trevor came back and salvaged the outing the way that he did, so that was a W for me. So I guess I maybe got in my head that they won yesterday, but they actually lost. So we are trying to salvage that game, and hopefully we get it tomorrow. I'm going Pablo for homer, and I'm calling it tomorrow. I put it on Twitter. Pablo hits a homer tomorrow. Let's go.
He wants to hit one. He wants to hit one this year, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, to this point, Marlins pitchers have been pretty much as bad as advertised at the plate. 0 for 7, 4 strikeouts, no productive outs, no sac bunts.
No. They're due. Let's go.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Once that first hit comes across, you know, people are going to overreact to that and have a lot of fun with it. But thank you to everybody for joining us coming off this very frustrated game. Good comments in here. Our viewership on that was much higher than we've had on any previous stream. And it looks like it didn't even crash anything on my end with this application that we're using. So that's a baby step forward. These will keep improving as we work out the kinks. You guys can find this. It streams live on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube. And it's posted after the fact on YouTube and also on fishstripes.com/videos. I'm going to set that up as well to make it easy for people to find after the fact with Ethan Badowski and Alex Carver, Eli Sussman here. We'll be back with another stream, I guess, probably on Thursday. We'll try. I mean, it's kind of awkward.
Thursday's an off day. Or no, Thursday, Friday's the off day.
Yeah, we'll see later this week. We'll definitely have more stream coming up, and as we continue to iron out the kinks and find all our coverage on the website, and we'll have fun with you guys on social media, of course, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, 1-4 Marlins, but only goes up from here. We hope, because it's been some exciting baseball, even when they've been on the wrong end of it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. As always, go Fish.